Greetings, fellow Trickers and Trekkers. Well, our look at Star Trek Deep Space Nine Season 4 now continues on with Indiscretion. Major Kara is in her quarters praying when she receives word from Worf and Ops that Razakarn wishes to speak with her. In the course of the conversation, Kira's informed that Raska has found salvage from a missing ship called Ravenok, but that she'll need to come to him in order to see it for herself. Later, she's receiving the criminal activity report with Odo concerning Trello's friend in the security office, but she conceives that her mind is wandering. When she tells him that her thoughts are on the Ravenok, Odo wishes her good luck. He's certain that while she may be skeptical that there are any survivors, she won't rest until she's certain. Yeah, come on, get back. There we go, okay. While Kira prepares for her departure from the station, Captain Sisko drops in on her and asks Kira to put off her departure, as the Cardassians have asked to send some along with Kira. She tells Sisko that she'll wait 2 days and not a minute more before she leaves. Sisko tells her he'll pass along the message to the Cardassian government. Sometime later, Sisko's in the docking room with Jadzia Dax, and they're speculating on the depth of Cassidy Yates' interest in the captain. At just that moment, Cassidy walks up to them to announce that she's applied for a ship's captaincy with the Bajoran Ministry of Commerce. Dax's immediate response is to point out that if Cassidy gets the job, she can live in the station, and meanwhile the captain's looking entirely overwhelmed at the prospect. When Sisko makes it back to Ops, he's told by Worf that the Cardassians want to beam someone directly into Ops from Transport Rabol, someone who turns out to be Dukat. It seems that he is the one who's to accompany Kira on her search for the Ravenok, and he is too anxious to leave. Over the USS Rio Grande runabout, heading to Raska's location in the Badlands, Dukat inquires on Kira's motivation for the search. She explains that when the Ravenok was lost, one of the people aboard was Lord Arkem, the man who recruited Kira into the Shakar resistance cell. Dukat's bemused at that, and goes on to say that the Shakar cell had been the focus of a lot of Cardassian attention during the occupation. Thence, he asserts that the occupation did Bajor a favor, with which Kira hotly disagrees. Back on the station, Sisko and Cassidy are having dinner in the captain's quarters, and Cassidy announces that she got the captaincy she applied for. When she raises the possibility of getting quarters on the station, an increasingly overwhelmed Sisko calls it a big step. Obviously, Cassidy is unimpressed by that response and declares that Sisko is afraid of commitment. She walks out on him. Aww. When Kira and Dukat arrive at Raska's ship, Dukat's presence creates tension, and it is revealed that both Raska and Dukat are wanted men, Raska by the Cardassians and Dukat by the Maquis. However, Dukat confirms that Raska's salvage is from the Ravenok, and from that Dozaria was the last stop of the Ferengi ship that was hauling the salvage. Kira and Dukat leave. Once at Dozaria, they find emissions consistent with the presence of a damaged ship, and take the runabout down to the surface of the planet, where they find the hulk of the Ravenok. At the station, Sisko's in the upper-level quarks with Dax and Bashir, discussing how the captain can best remedy the fact that Cassidy is upset with him. There appear to be a few different ways to go about it. Quark, overhearing, gives his traditional Ferengi input of treating women like the enemy. Once the captain leaves the table with a diplomatic acknowledgement of their advice, Dax and Bashir agree with the captain's judgment that the prospect of Cassidy living on the station is a big step. Back on Dozaria, they find that the ship was shot down. Furthermore, there were survivors, and so there are 12 neatly arranged grave sites nearby. Dukat pauses to identify their remains. Kira also helps, but Dukat objects, saying funeral rites forbid non-Cardassians to view the remains. Kira eventually accepts it and goes to the ship. There, she finds the manifest and the fact that the ship was attacked by unidentified ships. Coming back out to inform Dukat, she finds he is holding a Bajoran patroller bracelet, revealing his incentive for coming there. A Bajoran woman who was once his beloved mistress was. Dukat doesn't want to dwell on the story, leaving Kira to identify the Bajoran remains. She discovers that Lord wasn't killed when the ship crashed. Wanting to continue her search for Lord, Kira explains that as a resistance fighter he had an implanted tracking device of sorts, the trail of which should lead them to the location of the survivors. That night, Kira and Dukat are setting up their bivouac, or however that's pronounced, when Dukat suddenly loses his usual controlled calm and Breely shouts, "I sat on something!" Carol says buttocks there moves a long, sharp object. She hands him a dermal regenerator, but he's so agitated that she has to remind him to turn it on. She breaks into laughter at the loss of his dignity, and in a few seconds he joins in. Afterwards, Kira points out that she learned from the ship's computer that the daughter of Ducat's mistress, one Tor Zayal, was also aboard. Ducat declares that he is the girl's father, and that if he finds her alive, he'll be forced to kill her. Kira is shocked. Yeah, I'm shocked too. The next day, Kira braces Ducat for what he's set to do. Ducat goes on to explain to Kira that if his paternity of the girl is made known on Cardassia, his political enemies would see him ruined. Kira is, of course, unfazed by this and suggests relocating her secretly to Bajor. Ducat refuses the kind of life for her or her mother. He also says he sent them away, via the Ravenok, so they could live on Lysepia for a relatively better life. Kira objects further, saying he could do that again, but he says he and his family will be in more danger now, with his alignment with the unstable civilian government. He warns her not to stand in his way. Back on the station, Sisko talks with Jake, informs him Cassidy is not taking the job because Sisko didn't want her to. Revealing he has been talking to Nog, he says he should let Cassidy take the job if she really wants it, because it was her decision, and Sisko's scared of feeling guilty if things don't work out. He's a little stunned, with all this conversation behind his back. Kira and Ducat find the survivors of the Ravenok, who have been enslaved by the Breen at a dilithium mine. One of the survivors indeed Tor Zayal, to Ducat's dismay. Kira tries to order Ducat back to DS9 for reinforcements, but Ducat refuses and, with Kira also unwilling to leave Ducat alone, suggests a joint plan to infiltrate the mine. Kira blindly promises him that if he kills his daughter, she will kill him. Later, they manage to disguise themselves with within Breen refrigeration suits. Once in the mine, Kira discovers that Lord is dead. Ducat asks where the girl is, but they are soon under fire. Ducat runs off to find his daughter while Kira returns fire. Chased by Kira, Ducat finds Zayal retrieving water from a spring. Zayal immediately recognizes her father, and his response is to draw his disruptor on her. Just then, Kira finds her way into the chamber and draws her disruptor on Ducat. Encouraged by Kira to run, Zayal instead stands her ground and explains that even though she'd been warned of the likelihood that her father would want to kill her, she refused to believe it. She maintained her will to live by hoping and actually dreaming that she'd be rescued by him. The impasse is finally broken when Zayal says to her father, "If I can't be with you, then I'd rather die." And he embraces her warmly. Aww. Back on the station, Captain Sisko goes to Cassidy to apologize for his gracelessness, as he'd been advised by his son to do. Cassidy accepts his apology and, though she turns away from his attempt at a parting kiss, implies that the two of them will be seeing a lot more of each other. Shortly thereafter, Ducat catches up to Kira on the promenade to announce to her that he's taken Zayal back to Cardassia, and that he will let her know if he has any trouble over his decision. That sounds like a good plan there, Ducat. So, yeah. So, anyway, let's take a look at some continuity surrounding this episode. This episode is the first appearance of Tor Zayal. Ziabat plays her again in the next appearance of the character Return to Grace. Tracy Middendorf plays her once and for the cause. Melanie Smith plays her in the 5th and 6th seasons. This episode reveals the name of another Kai, Marissa. Ray Brocksmith previously played Serna Kulrami in the Next Generation episode Peak Performance. Cole Meany, who plays Miles O'Brien, does not appear in this episode. Among the costumes and props from this episode, which were sold off on the It's Your Up sale and auction on eBay, was Mark Alimo's Breen Cool suit. In reaction to Ducat's suggestion that Bajorans and Cardassians work together, Kira agrees to the principle, but not to her and Ducat specifically. In the final season, Kira ends up working with the Cardassian underground to overthrow the Dominion rule, and Ducat with Kai Wynn to bring back the Pa Wraiths. So overall, I think this episode is kind of interesting, and I do like the fact that Ducat's daughter is, well, she's a very interesting character, to say the least, so yeah. So overall, I give Indiscretion 3 warp cores out of 5. But anyway, tune in as we to the next episode, Rejoined. So, until then, live long and prosper, everybody.